Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Nerd Chronicles with your host, the socially awkward nerd Christian Paul speaking. And ladies and gentlemen, I come to you live, coming from a late night, Saturday night. Actually, it's around the time of recording. It's actually midnight on August 31st on Labor Day weekend. After me coming off fresh off a hackathon of a long hackathon event all day last Saturday, yesterday at the time of this recording, involving myself in a hackathon, dealing with a team, all day event up in Williamsburg. It's literally freaking insane. I ain't gonna lie to you. All right. And I do want to pick up something that I've just mainly learned in regards to it, because during our hackathon, we had to be dealing with a lot of developing tools. It's not like hardcore modeling like with your normal data science and stuff. This is more so putting on the mind and putting on the hat of a developer, actually trying to figure some stuff out and trying to do some coding with web development, actually, in regards with this. So what I learned with these hackathons is primarily based on developing more so than modeling itself. And I do want to actually just dig into specifically about the JavaScript version of Node, in which Node.js is the open source cross-platform JavaScript runtime environment that allows any developer to execute JavaScript code outside of a web browser. They can basically execute code that's online or offline on any computer that can run very well, which would enable server-side programming, meaning that JavaScript can be used to build back-end services, web servers, automated processing interfaces, and more, right? And we are going to take our time to actually dig into this code generator here to use as an example. And basically, they have a clause stuff that's there. Give me one moment. I actually do find the information in regards to the download. One moment. So we have the downloader of Node.js and npm. So if we look into what npm is, right? If we click on it, npm we know is the world's largest software registry, which many open source developers from any kind use npm to share and borrow packages, in which it consists of three different distinct components: website, command line interface, and registry. The website is used to discover packages, set up profiles, and manage other aspects of your npm experience. CLI runs the terminal, and that's how most developers interact with npm. And the registry is a large public database of JavaScript software and the meta information surrounding it. And npm is primarily used to adapt the packages of codes for your apps or incorporate packages as they are. You can download standalone tools you use immediately, run packages without downloading using the npx system, which is a different topic for a different day. Share code with any npm user anywhere. Restrict code specific to developers. Blah, 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 blah. So if we're able to actually come down. So npm, if I am able to see what it mainly stands for, it basically stands for Node Package Manager. So I actually got myself first started actually installing Node.js, and let me show you my findings here. I recently had Node.js JavaScript installed already on my desktop, and I already have it fully installed on my laptop, and I successfully got it changed within the codes on my laptop very successfully. But I have not done this in the desktop that's in my home base. I've done it with the laptop that's in the portable base, definitely earlier yesterday at the time of recording. And I was trying to do the Node Package Manager, and I see this little red error that's here. You cannot, npm ps1, you cannot be loaded, programmed, blah, blah, blah. It's not digitally signed. Cannot run the script in the current system. For more information about running scripts and setting execution policy, see about execution policies at https go microsoft.com/forward link and use the link ID that's given. Now, to fix this issue, you need to go to the following. Highlight this site, copy it, and then paste it on the link definitely shortly. All right? As so. Highlight this, Control C, and on the site, go to Control V. All right? Now we look into the execution policies that we see here, and they talk about the short description of the PowerShell execution, and this is how they have this up in details, which they discuss about execution policy. Due to the fact that your computer by default, if you run on Windows and you want to do coding through Windows, it's automatically going to have a policy which, you can't really do any coding. It's automatically going to be restricted unless you force it to be unrestricted by that particular user, right? So, long description of those policies. They have a safety feature that controls conditions under which PowerShell loads configuration files and runs scripts, in which it helps prevent the execution of malicious scripts. That's by design. It always comes by default every time you buy a new computer. It starts off as restricted because of that. On any Windows computer, you can set up an execution policy for the local computer, current user, or particular session, in which a group policy can be used to execute policies for computers and users. Now, if you want to try and dig further into that, there's definitely a site for this. You can read much of this stuff definitely on your own. Now, non-Windows computers, which definitely is MacBook or even a Chromebook, right? Always the default execution policy is unrestricted. You can literally build nodes and NPMs literally automatically, right? And they can't be changed. Now, set execution policy CMD is available. PowerShell, however, displays the console message is not supported. While get execution policy remains unrestricted on non-Windows platforms, the behavior really matches bypass because those platforms do not implement the Windows security zones. Now, there are a bunch of execution policies they have when in Windows. All signed means all scripts can run. Requires that all scripts configuration files can be signed by a trusted publisher, including scripts that you write on a local computer, prompting that you, before running scripts from publishers that you haven't yet classified as trusted or untrustworthy, and you deal with the risk running signed but malicious scripts. Bypass means none is blocked and there are no warnings or prompts, and it's designed for configurations in which the PowerShell script is built into a large application for configurations, blah, 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 right? Default execution policy, remote signed Windows client servers. Remote signed default execution policy, scripts can run, requires a dignity from a total publisher on scripts, and you can definitely read the rest of that. Restricted, permitting individual commands but does not allow scripts, and prevents running of all script files, including formatting and configuration files, modern script files, and blah, blah, blah. Undefined, no execution policy in this current scope. If the execution policy in all scopes is undefined, the effective execution policy is restricted for Windows clients and most side for Windows Server. Unrestricted, default execution policy for non-Windows computers and cannot be changed. Unsigned scripts can run, and you risk running malicious scripts. Warrants used before running scripts configuration their files are not local from the internet zone. So they have some scopes that you can definitely edit out that you definitely see here. And they have those information in regards to set execution policy, right? I'm just going to type literally right now. So let's see what we could actually deal with if we type about execution policies. Let's see what we can find. Oh, well, that's bad. That's horrible. Now, the first thing that we need to do, ladies and gentlemen, we need to actually get the execution policy and see what type that we have, especially in my desktop here that I'm mainly running, especially on my HP. All right. And we want to target a list just to try and actually get to know it. And if there's any issues, we do need to change it later on. So we're going to start with that first. And we type as so. Right, let me go type it here. Get execution policy. You type in list. You get the list. Machine policy undefined, user policy undefined, process undefined, current user defined, local machine all signed. Now, get execution policy alone, all signed on a local machine. So we need to see what that mainly is. All signed means scripts can run. Now, in my case, and for many Windows users, usually Windows computer mainly solved basically through a user system. So you want to change the execution policy in order for your NPMs to work. So you want to hit set execution policy, minus execution policy, and basically policy name. It will be definitely unrestricted. And you want the scope to be the current user. So we're going to do that literally right now. And then we knock it out of the park. Type set execution policy. And we hit execution policy. And we should have one more thing I forgot to bring up. You want to put that scope. No, I forgot one more thing. It should be unrestricted. Make sure we get everything thoroughly right because I'm switching back and forth here. Give me 1 second. Now that I put this under my other screen here, set execution policy, unrestricted, and then knock out scope. And then we want current user. And then you hit enter. And once that is done, right, now we are going to focus on the npm value. So we're going to type node again, and we get our information. And now we're going to type in npm again to see what type of level we have. 11.2. And it's magic, baby. It's a very easy fix, and you could definitely install your pnpm files, any other PM files, which we will actually definitely do right now as I actually go along with this. So bear with me as I actually go into my top screen and see how it works. And we're going to actually add this stuff that's definitely there in order for this to work. So utilizing npm with this here, we want to get the pnpm file. So we go to npm install -g pnpm at latest @ and -10, and we want to try and run that through as well. See what we get. Let it take its time as it will. See what we can find here. And now everything is mainly ran. Now we're going to definitely update the npm file as well to make sure everything is thoroughly smooth and up to date. So I have the 11.2.0. I'm going to make this 11.5.2 to make things more efficient. So we do that. And once that's there, the Node.js and the npm, pnpm, if I'm able to put that into place, and the acronym, basically what it means, it's a performant node package manager, right? Node package manager. So that's what it is. It's performant node package manager when it comes to Node and JavaScript, mainly for developers to actually handle and create stuff and create other sites offline. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, right? You got your stuff to actually set restrictions and get rid of execution policies when it comes to developing, when it comes to trying to build websites. No more talk from me, y'all. Chris Paul from Nerd Chronicles is signing out. Deuces.